gamers, and welcome back to Warrior's Den, here today for another Player One Reviews. Today I'll be reviewing Hitman 3, which is the third and final game in the Hitman trilogy and wraps up Agent 47's story. So if you have never played a Hitman game, you probably shouldn't watch this review. If you want, you can, but I'm going to be talking about the story a little bit later on, and I try not to do too much spoiling, but there might be some stuff that spoils some of the previous story of the previous game. So if you haven't played Hitman, I highly recommend checking it out and playing it. It's a great series, and wraps up with a great game here that I'm going to dive into and get the review started on now. So, starting off with gameplay. So the gameplay for Hitman 3, not much has really changed throughout the Hitman trilogy. I know there's been other games, obviously, but I'm only talking about Hitman 1, 2, and 3. Those are the only series I've played. I know there's like other knockoffs, I think, or something like that. I haven't looked too much into those, but this is just going along with the main trilogy. So the gameplay hasn't really changed much throughout the whole trilogy, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's pretty standard. It's a simple system, I feel like. Third person, locations are great for the gameplay. You have your stealth where you're trying to sneak around certain areas and get a disguise, try and lure people so you can knock them out, hide the body, get the disguise. That's kind of the typical cycle for Hitman games, is you go throughout levels and you progress through the story, trying to just be sneaky about everything, got to be strategic. We'll kind of get into more of those details later, but, that goes along with the gameplay is being strategic and the way you go about things, and there's many different paths and strategies you can explore and try and see what you want to do through each level, which is pretty fun for the gameplay, I feel like. So yeah, not really much I feel like to talk about the gameplay. Like I said, it's kind of standard stealth-based system. If you mess up, you're gonna get into combat stuff. There's too much to do with combat. Depends on what you load out with into the certain missions, because you're able to kind of preload. So it depends on kind of where you're at with your disguise and what tools or weapons you might have on you. It kind of just depends for your own gameplay throughout the game. So yeah, for the gameplay overall, I'd end up giving it Hitman 3 an 18.5 out of 20. All right, now for the story. So, as I mentioned, if you haven't played a Hitman game before, I'm going to kind of divulge some information from the previous ones to kind of get caught up to speed here. So, if you want to play through it for yourself and learn the story yourself, I would just turn away from it right now or skip ahead. But the story, so obviously Hitman 3, this is the conclusion to Agent 47's story. It picks up right from the end of Hitman 2. 47 and his cohort, Diana Burnwood, have defected from the International Contract Agency, or known as ICA, joining forces with Lucas Gray, who's kind of become a rogue mercenary. And their main goal is to take down Providence once and for all for good, which Providence is this alliance of corporate executives and industrialists with pretty much as much economic, military, and political influence as you can imagine around the globe. So 47 and Diana and Gray, they're trying to take Providence down and trying to get rid of that influence that they have around the world. So Agent 47 and Gray, they have their own motives for wanting to take down Providence. They want revenge for Providence having created them as they are as these hitmen, these assassins, and just exploiting them as these expendable cloned assassins is what they are. So they want revenge on Providence for doing that to them and kind of just taking away their identities and really, kind of their lives indirect. Meanwhile, Diana Burnwood, she is seeking justice for her parents' assassination from when she was a kid, which came at the hands of Providence. Providence are the ones that employed and set out the hit on her parents and had them killed. So she's seeking revenge for that. And that kind of story does kind of play into this game in a little bit, in a bit of a way. I'm not going to divulge too much on that though. But yeah, Hitman 3 picks up with hunting down 3 of the partners that are kind of heading Providence. And as the story kind of progresses throughout, 47 eventually eliminates those three partners. And then upon doing so, as he does so, 47 learns that the ICA is actually after him and Gray and Burnwood. They're after them for defecting. And so they're trying to take them out. So now 47 kind of gets caught up with, while he's still trying to take down Providence, he's got the ICA after him, so he has to kind of get the ICA off of his tail so he can continue with his own mission against Providence. And so has to take care of ICA. Trying to figure out how to divulge not too much, not to spoil it too much, but so yeah, 47, he has to take care of ICA before he can continue on with hunting down Providence. And with hunting down Providence, the main man he's trying to hunt down and take out is Arthur Edwards, who is known as the Providence's constant. Basically kind of the man in charge, pretty much. So to take down Providence, or kind of like, reassemble them in a way, they have to take out this Arthur Edwards, who's kind of been the man behind everything that 47 and Diana and Gray have been trying to take down. So yeah, that's pretty much all you're going to get out of me for the story. If you want to figure out what happens, you got to go play it yourself. I'm a spoiler-free review guy. But the story overall is great. I think it's a great ending to 47's story. Throughout the entire Hitman trilogy, I've very much enjoyed and loved the story. I think it's been great all throughout, even if, which I'll touch on this in negatives later, even if the stories for the games, playing through them, kind of been maybe a little short and leave a little bit to be desired. But overall, I feel like the story, as it's progressed, has been great, and I think it ends great. And then this is a game that has multiple endings as well. So Hitman, we'll get into this. It is known for its replayability, and that certainly is the case with finding out the different endings of the game. So that's a good element to add in as well. I always love being able to play through a game and find a different ending. I think that's fun and adds to the value of the game. So yeah, for the story overall, I'd give the Hitman 3 story a perfect 20 out of 20. Perfect ending for the story of Agent 47 and the Hitman trilogy. Next up, we got the visuals and sound. So the visuals, I'll say, is just kind of get the negative right out of the way. I feel like it could have been better for me playing on PlayStation 5 next gen. I feel like maybe I expected a little bit better. Don't get me wrong, the visuals are great. They're stunning still, as all Hitman games have been, especially with all the different locations. The locations are all stunning. I just think some of the animations and kind of the graphics of the people, especially when you kind of get up close in the cutscenes, I feel like could have been better. The cutscenes, I think, are great, but the graphics for like gameplay when you're playing, I feel like some of the animations and whatnot could have been a little better for what I would expect for next gen. I guess that's just me personally, haven't played on next gen. I don't know the case with PS4 or Xbox. Maybe it's just normal there, but yeah, so could have been maybe a little better. I think maybe a little upgrade or enhanced for next gen. Now, going along with the visuals, you got to talk about the locations. Hitman 3 has 6 really beautiful locations. I mean, well, I'd say 5. The 6th one, the last one we'll get into. It's not much of a location, but it's still nice. But other than that, the other 5 locations throughout the game, they're great to play through. Each bring their own unique thing to the story and unique playthrough. And yeah. Great music. The music is great throughout. I feel like it sets the atmosphere. Like the menu music, I feel really kind of sets a good atmosphere for you getting ready to jump in, and as you're planning out your mission and what you're going to do, where you want to start, what you want to start with, and all that, how you're going to kind of approach it. I think the music is good for that. It's not necessarily elevator music. I think it's music that's just good to help you focus and kind of strategize your plan for the mission. And music isn't too prevalent when you're playing through the game, but different locations have certain types of music for whatever is going on, and I think it adds a good atmosphere to the game. So yeah, overall, visuals and sound, I would give a 19 out of 20. Next up for the negatives of the game. So the negatives, kind of mentioned this earlier. For me, it's just a short story. 6 locations they're all great locations, but I feel like the story is just, I feel like the story is just kind of shorter than maybe I would like it. Maybe that's just me, but great as it is, I just feel like I've become accustomed to games where they have longer stories and more to do and whatnot. But that being said, of course, Hitman games are known for their replayability, and it is great. You know, you have different missions to play through each location, so really no one playthrough is the same on each location and each mission. There's always gonna be something different depending on what you do and what you strategize to do. But even still, just if we're focusing just on the overall story and playing through just the story for itself, I feel like maybe could have been a little bit longer. Maybe there's some things at the end left to be desired. But yeah, another negative. The last level for this Hitman game, Hitman 3, I'm not going to give too much away about it, but it's not your typical Hitman level where you're having to disguise yourself and going through this beautiful location. I will just say you're on a train. I'll just say you're on a train, going towards a singular objective, which is not really what Hitman's been about. So while it was a fun mission, it is a fun location. It's a fun mission to play through, but being the last mission of the Hitman trilogy for the game, just the series overall, it kind of disappoints because you want to kind of go out with a bang, kind of just have that one last hurrah with that typical Hitman feel, with a great location, different stories to play through within the mission and the location. And unfortunately, we didn't get that. So I think that is a little bit of a negative, even though the last mission is still fun to play through and still a good location, but it does leave a little bit to be desired. And then, like I touched on before, another negative is just the graphics. I feel like they could have been maybe a little bit better for next gen. Cutscenes, those graphics, those were great. Those look good. Just kind of this in gameplay, animations, and graphics itself could have been maybe a little better, I feel like. So for negatives overall, I'd give it a 18 out of 20. Which brings us to our fifth and final portion of the review, the X factors. So I wouldn't say, I don't know if there's too many like X factors, and it's not to be a negative thing. A game doesn't have to have like X factors to be an amazing game. Just like adds to it. And I wouldn't say there really are too many X factors to point out, other than, you know, what's been kind of the standard for Hitman games, that the replayability is probably the best it is in any gaming franchise out there. Like through all the Hitman games, especially this one, you might have just 6 locations or so, but for each of those locations, there's at least 3 different missions and stories you can play through. And really, depending on how you strategize and how you plan to play through, each playthrough of each location is not going to be the same. Like, I would find it hard to believe that someone could like follow their exact steps and do the exact thing they did in a previous playthrough another time through. Like, it's not, I don't think it's possible. Like, every time you play through, there's going to be something different that happens, something you do that causes something different to happen, which is, I think, just an awesome thing that I think more games should have. I think more games should look to the Hitman series and find out ways they can kind of incorporate that replayability that IOI has done with this Hitman series. I think it's been amazing, and that's definitely a huge X factor, not only for this game, but the series overall. And then, yeah, just going along with that, how just different missions and the replayability, really each time you play through, then whatever level, whatever mission you're going to go through, there's an amount of strategy that you have to take into consideration, even going through the game. Like, something might happen where you had a certain strategy, but then, something happened, you made a mistake or something, you got to throw that out the window, and you got to come up with a new strategy on the fly. And I think that is an awesome factor to have in a game that really kind of pushes the critical thinking skills there, where you got to kind of put yourself in that moment and try and like assess a situation and figure out what you're going to do going forward. I think that adds the replayability, as I've discussed, and that's an awesome element to add into a game. I'd like to see more games really incorporate that, where you go in having one plan set out and think you're going to do one thing, but you might make a simple mistake, goof up, and all of a sudden you got to throw that plan away and try something completely new. So that was a great X factor, I feel like, for this game and the series overall. So for X factors, since there aren't too many, I don't want to get down on it too much. I don't think it really matters that much. It's still a great game. But for X factors, I'd give it a 17.5 out of 20. So that brings us to the overall scoring of the game and my final verdict on this game. So overall, counting up all the numbers, I would give Hitman 3 a 93 out of 100, which would classify for me as an amazing game, which it is just that. It's an amazing game and an amazing series. I could even go as far as saying that the series is a masterpiece. You put together the whole trilogy of Hitman games, just a blast to play, so much fun to play through. Like I said, you probably heard me say the word replayability a million times, probably get sick of it, but that is the core of Hitman games, I feel like, and that makes it a lot of fun to just go through, and every time you go through each location or each game, it's going to be something different's going to happen. So I think that makes an amazing game and a masterpiece of a series, and I think it was a fitting end to the series. And I know IOI, they're moving on now, looking at some James Bond games, I heard, so that could be pretty cool if they kind of take the core of the Hitman games, what they've done, and kind of work James Bond into it, get some good James Bond games. I think that could be pretty fun, something to look forward to. So, yeah, that is my Hitman 3 review. So I highly recommend playing this game if you haven't checked out the series but been curious about it. Give it a look, give it a go. If you like stealth-based games, this game will be for you. If you like games where you have to strategize, you have to think a little bit, this game's also for you. Replayability, again, there's that word again, it's through the roof. You're not going to be too bored with it. You're not going to get bored over time with it unless you find everything to do, which I think would take a while to find everything to do in this game. So yeah, give it a look, try it out, and see if you like it. So like I said, 93 out of 100, amazing game for Hitman 3. There's my review. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, enjoyed the review. Go in and enjoy the game. So please like and share the video, hit the subscribe button, and this is Player One signing off.